Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here and congratulations on your recent national award.
Thank you.
So I'm sure that most people in our audience are familiar with your work, but would you just describe your beat for us?
Sure. Yeah. So for the last year at Searchlight New Mexico, I've been covering nuclear issues. So for me, what that includes is everything from uranium mining to the production of nuclear weapons to the storage of nuclear weapons to the storage of waste from the production of nuclear weapons. So it's really the full cycle, cradle to grave.
Yeah. Well, I am such a huge fan of your work and what you do. I really appreciate it, and I'm super excited that you're here today.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk briefly about Buried Secrets, Poisoned Bodies, which published in December is the story that you won the Molly Award for. What started you on the path to reporting that particular story?
That story really drove me crazy. And the reason why was because I heard from a source that there was a woman from Truchas, where I'm from, where I'm born and raised, that had the most plutonium in her body from the Trinity detonation in 1945. And of course, when I heard that, I thought, if that person is from Truchas, I must know them, or I must know their family, or we're related, or we're neighbors. You know, there's so few people in Truchas, and so it really put me on this path to search for her and to ultimately find her and her family. And lo and behold, yes, I did know her family, and we were neighbors, and I've known them since I was a child. So it was just a really offhand tip from a source in an airplane coming back from DC. And then I heard it again, that same tip from a different source down by the Trinity site by White Sands. And so I thought, okay, well, I've heard it twice, and that's really what put me on this path. And I think it took me 6 months ultimately to figure out who she was and what her story was, and how her story had really been papered over, I think, in many ways.
So that story is also about illegal autopsies. Who performed them, on who, and why?
So basically, the reason that we knew she had plutonium in her body was because she had been one of about 2,000 people who had been illegally autopsied as part of a study called the Human Tissue Analysis Program. And there were several hundred people here in New Mexico who were subject to that study, but it really began in the late 1950s when scientists at Los Alamos National Laboratory were trying to understand how plutonium impacted the body. And so in Los Alamos, a person died from plutonium exposure, extreme plutonium exposure, and he was the first in this study. And so they autopsied his body without the informed consent from next of kin, and that was in 1959. And that began this program in conjunction between Los Alamos National Laboratory and Los Alamos Medical Center. And so the chief of staff would collaborate with the Los Alamos National Laboratory. And if somebody died at the medical center and there could be some need for an autopsy, then they would perform it and basically look at and take out several different organs, including liver, lungs, spleen, in some cases vertebrae and bone, in men, gonads. So it was a horrific study, and it took place for about 35 years. And it was litigated, so we do know that at least there was some small measure of justice, and I say that in a way that I know it's really not justice at all, but it was settled back in 2010 after more than 10 years of litigation.
So there was this lawsuit and settlement. Was there any kind of apology, admission of how incredibly wrong that is? Like a healing process, anything like that?
I don't think that there really was a healing process, to be quite honest. You know, there were probably 10 people listed on the lawsuit, and from the story that I wrote, what I came to find out is this woman had been illegally autopsied. She had the most plutonium in her body than any other person who was autopsied in this study who was not a worker. And her family didn't know about the lawsuit. They were never contacted, or if they were, they send out letters and, make newspaper announcements, but they never got any of that. And so they didn't know until I came to them and said, hey, I believe, I'm 90% sure that this woman is your grandmother, but with your help, I would like to prove it. So they didn't even know what happened. And so, I don't think for a lot of people, even who did know what happened, there was any measure of resolution. And specifically in this case, there was no knowledge about it until 6 months ago, really, and she died in 1972.
Again, thank you for your reporting on this. So I feel like when I first moved to New Mexico almost 30 years ago, the mainstream newspapers did cover the labs to some extent. Mm-hmm. You would see news about the labs. Not so much anymore. You're basically the only reporter who covers Los Alamos with consistency and sort of investigative chops.
It's interesting that you note that because, last summer there was this group of atomic reporters that got together, and there are very few across the U.S. even, and we noted that in our group. But I think part of it is that once the Cold War ended, in the late 80s, and once pit production largely ended at Rocky Flats in Colorado, I think the watchdogs slowly kind of disappeared into the mist. And now, fast forward, we're producing plutonium pits at Los Alamos National Laboratory at an industrial scale in a way that's never been done in Los Alamos. Yes, it's been done in Rocky Flats, but this is a real feat. And so I think that the quietude, perhaps, in the journalism community was a result of kind of, relative quietude in terms of pit production. They made a few here and there, maybe 30 over a 30-year period, but now the goal is to make 30 in 1 year at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And so it's kind of, now I think people are starting to wake up that the Cold War, the first Cold War ended, we're entering into a second Cold War, and this one potentially could be more dangerous. And I think that's, what I'm starting to think about now is, we're barreling into a new Cold War, and we have not reckoned with the implications of the last one. And so even though I'm looking forward and, into the future about what potential stories I could write about pit production, etc., and plutonium pits, by the way, are the cores that detonate every nuclear weapon. But I'm also thinking about the past and all the things that we haven't dealt with from the past, including these stories about, this woman from Truchas.
Yeah. Are there particular challenges that are unique to your beat and working with the lab?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Los Alamos is a place built on secrets and secrecy. And so there's this, in every beat, there's a fear of retaliation, when you talk to sources. But this beat has the added layer that if you work at the lab, you very likely have a Q clearance, which is a high security federal clearance. And so you are beholden in many ways in a way that's even more challenging than, say, being a whistleblower at, at a private entity or something like that. So I think, so there's the secrecy aspect. Then there is the aspect of trying to get records from the federal government. And so, the Freedom of Information Act affords us to be able to get records, but when you put in a FOIA for the Department of Energy, I've heard people wait 9-10 years to get those records back. And so, I could be 100 and still waiting for a FOIA. So I think that that's another challenge. Those two aspects are very much challenges, but there is a rich record historically. And so I always look to what that record is historically to help me figure out how to report on what, an issue that may be taking place in the present. So a lot of my work does integrate past records that are already available. I just have to really dig for them and find the right archives for them.
Yeah. So some of the reporting that has been done, or that does show up in the mainstream newspapers, tends to focus on like when the federal government issues like a safety report, or, certainly there's the occasional pollution story, very rarely labor issues, and almost never moral implications of building weapons of mass destruction. Why do you think we skirt that issue?
It is, and I think about this too, it is so hard for people to talk about it, right? Because, even with our congressional delegation, on the one hand, they are fighting for Radiation Exposure Compensation Act for our, the folks who were the first victims of the Trinity site detonation, and for uranium miners post 1971. But on the other hand, they are pro making nuclear weapons now because of the jobs, right? And I think that people always get caught up in the kind of economic benefits question of the whole thing. And, I hear all the time folks tell me, if the lab weren't around, Espanola, the surrounding communities wouldn't exist. They would just be like tumbleweeds, totally rolling into the horizon. And so, I think that the economic argument holds a lot of sway in eclipsing the moral argument is, largely what it comes down to. And when I talk to sources, they'll say something like, yes, it's been a really good job for me, but my tío, up in Cordova, and my cousin over there, both of them got cancer and died. And so people will, in the same breath, talk about the good jobs and also, environmental and health harms. And that's become, I think, kind of baked into the culture around the lab, is that you accept the trade-offs. And that, to me, is also part of this moral argument around this issue, is that there is a trade-off and you have to accept it. And that, it really centers around an issue of consent. And the lab arrived, through eminent domain. The communities surrounding did not consent. And now, ever since, there's been this like retroactive attempt to get people to consent through good jobs. And what it's left us with is this kind of nebulous moral murkiness that we can't quite, that people are too afraid to really navigate in a way. And so when I write about it, I acknowledge that I'm privileged to be able to say the things that other people can't say, because maybe some people feel like they don't have the power or the voice to do that. And so I'm honored and humbled to do that too. And sometimes, it's even hard for me.
Yeah. So last year we had Mariah Gomez on the show to talk about her book and nuclear colonialism. How do you feel, or did Los Alamos set the stage for New Mexico to keep?
I think so. I mean, I think that, part of the argument is this kind of history of extraction. And I think that's built into all eras of colonialism. And, I think about like the great Latin American journalist Eduardo Galeano, who talked about kind of extraction in Latin America and how that made kind of, corporate conglomerates wealthy elsewhere. And that to me is kind of what we're talking about here, is that, New Mexico has been land rich, cash poor. And so, a lot of our resources are to be extracted. We have oil and gas, we have uranium, we have labor. That is a resource to be extracted as well. And I think that, kind of in the late capitalist model that we're in, yes, this is kind of an extension of colonization, because it means that, our state will continue to be poor, even though we continue to be, to make money or to provide the labor, the resources for the federal government to, reap, from the arms race, right? And so I think that, yes, this is an extension of colonization. It is nuclear colonialism, and it will continue to be, throughout the arms race, and again, we're in another arms race.
So without scooping yourself, what can we look forward to reading from you in the coming months or year?
So I'm gonna, I've been really focused on Los Alamos National Laboratory for the last year on and off, but I'm gonna start panning around the state, hoping to do some more uranium mining coverage, because as you may know, we're not really taking uranium from Russia anymore. And so that kind of puts pressure on us. I'm going to really think through that issue. And then I'm trying to think. And then I'll probably come back to Los Alamos and do some coverage. I keep coming back to plutonium, so I think I'll always come back as long as we're, producing plutonium pits. There's always going to be something to write about.
Well, again, thank you for your work. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.